Welcome back to the Soul Talk podcast, where we explore how movement connects mind, body, and spirit, one step at a time. I'm Marybeth Hrim, therapist, running coach, and someone who's learned both personally and professionally that movement can help us navigate life's hardest moments. And this week, week 3 of our Movement in Attention series, is kind of a heavy topic. So far we've talked about why we move, and then we also talked about what happens in the mind when we do move. But today we're kind of entering into a tender, important ground. Movement and grief. You ever grieved over something? Someone? And we all have. So let's begin by talking about what grief is and what grief is not. Grief is a natural response to loss. It's the ache we feel when someone or something deeply important to us is gone. That could be a relationship, a divorce. That could be the loss of a job. That could be a death. Grief is not just sadness. It's not depression. It's longing. It's confusion. It's anger. And it's also emptiness. Sometimes even relief, and then we kind of feel guilty for that relief. It's the storm of emotions, thoughts, and sensations that come with losing a loved one, a relationship, a home, a dream, even a part of ourselves. Grief isn't linear, doesn't follow any kind of neat stages that we check off like boxes on a list. It's not something that we get over. It's something that we learn to live with, and something that we kind of learn to go, let's move forward on this. And grief it's not weakness. If anything, grief is the price of love. Grief actually is love. If you don't feel grief, you obviously didn't love it or that person. So we grieve because we have loved so deeply. And that makes grief an expression of the heart, not a failure of strength. I want to share something personal with you. Many years ago, I lost someone who shaped my life in ways I still feel every day. And in those first weeks, I felt pretty hollow, like moving through fog, where my legs were heavy, my chest was tight, my breath was pretty shallow. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. But what surprised me was how much I needed to move. I wasn't trying to run from my grief. I couldn't. But I would step outside, sometimes just to feel the air. I'd walk with no destination. Each step felt like a quiet act of survival. And the world, it obviously kept turning, and somehow so did I. Also, several years ago, I had a running group, and one of my members had lost someone very close to them. And the next day that had happened, they showed up for our group run. And I remember, them telling me, I need to be here. I need to move. I need to do something. And just walking and running and talking really helped them. And it helped me as well. Grief doesn't only live in the mind. It lives in the body. And it shows up as fatigue, tightness, restlessness. It can show up as illness where you get headaches, stomach aches, even flu-like symptoms. Our bodies feel so weighted down or jittery, where we're unable to sit, unable to be still. That's where movement comes in. And again, this isn't a cure. It's not a cure. Not as a way to outrun grief, but as a gentle way to meet it. Again, you need to meet yourself where you are. It's to create space for your breath, for your tears, for memory. I remember one particular day, maybe a month after the loss. It had been a long, hard night of course, crying and restlessness. And, I woke up with that familiar heaviness, that ache. I didn't really want to do anything. But I convinced myself to lace up my shoes, step outside. I told myself just the end of the driveway. And then I took another step and another. And that's what my friend did after their loss. Laced up the shoes, got in the car, and met us. Somewhere along the way, as we all walked slowly down the street, and then felt the sun coming up on our face, and realized the breath had deepened. The tightness in the chest eased just a little bit. Of course, we were still grieving, but we were also moving, and that mattered. And that matters, to continue to move. What can movement do in grief? Well, it helps release that tension that builds when we hold our grief inside. It reminds us we're alive. It gives our hearts a rhythm. When grief makes life feel chaotic, it can become a ritual. A walk where we remember, a run where we cry, a stretch where we simply just breathe. What isn't movement in grief? It isn't about pushing through the pain. It's not about pretending that you're okay. And it isn't about distraction or denial. It's about making space for the fullness of what we feel, what you feel. So if you're listening today and carrying grief, I invite you to try this. Step outside, even if it's just to your porch or your balcony or the end of your driveway. Feel the air on your skin. Notice your breath. Maybe take a slow walk. No destination, no pace, no concerns. Just roll your shoulders back. Let your arms hang loose. Sway gently where you stand. Whatever you choose, let it be kind. Simply let it be enough. Some days, movement might feel impossible. That's okay. Even placing your feet on the floor, or sitting up in bed, or taking one slow, deep breath. That is movement too. And that matters. Grief will walk beside us in many forms. It changes us. But with time and care, we can learn to carry it with compassion. And with each step, intentional movement, we honor both our loss and our will to keep going. Thank you for being here with me today. I know that this is a very heavy conversation. And I hope this conversation invites you to move with your grief gently, patiently, most importantly, in your own time. I'm Marybeth Hrim, and you can join me next week when we explore movement and rest and how rest, too, is important of moving with intention. Until then, take gentle care of yourself. Thanks for listening.